Canto 13. Circle 7. Round 2. The violent against themselves. Nessus carries the poets across the river of boiling blood and leaves them in the second round of the seventh circle, the woods of the suicides. Here are those punished who destroyed their own lives and those who destroyed their substance. The souls of the suicides are encased in thorny trees, whose leaves are eaten by the odious harpies and overseers of the damned. The harpies feed upon them, damaging their leaves and limbs. The wound bleeds. Only as long as the blood flows are the souls of the trees able to speak. Thus, they who destroy their own bodies are denied a human form, and just as the supreme expression of their lives were self-destruction, so they are permitted to speak only through that which tears and destroys them. Only through their own blood do they find voice. And to add one more dimension to the symbolism, it is harpies, defilers of all they touch, who give them their eternally reoccurring wounds. The poets pause before one tree and speak with the soul of Peter del Vigente. In the same wood they see Giacomo de Saint Andrea and Lano de Siena, two famous squanderers and destroyers of goods, pursued by a pack of savage hounds. The hounds overtake Saint Andrea, tear him to pieces, and go off carrying his limbs in their teeth, as self-evident symbolic retribution for the violence with which the sinners destroyed their substance of the world. After this scene of horror, Dante speaks to an unknown Florentine suicide, whose soul is inside the brush which was torn by the hound's pack when it leaped upon Saint Andrea. Text. Nessus has not yet reached the other shore when we moved on the pathless wood, the twisting upward from hell's broken floor. Its foliage was not verdant, but clearly black. The unhealthy branches, gnarled and warped and tangled, bore poisoned thorns instead of fruit, the tract. Of these wild beasts they shun open spaces, men and between Cesena and Cornito, run through no rougher nor more tangled places. Here nest the odious harpies, of whom my master wrote how they drove Aeneas and his companions from the stophades and prophecies of disasters. Their wings are wide, their feet clawed, their huge bellies covered with feathers, their necks and faces human. They croak eternally in their unnatural trees. Before going on, I would have you understand, my guide began, we are in a second round, and shall be till we reach the burning sand. Therefore look carefully, and you will see things in this wood which, if I told them to you, would shake the confidence you have placed in me. I heard cries of lamentation rise and spill on every hand, but saw no sound in pain. In all their waste and puzzled I stood still. I think perhaps he thought that I was thinking those cries rose from among the twisted roots, through which the spirits of the damned were slinking to hide from us. Therefore my master said, if you break off a twig when you will learn, will drive you what you are thinking from your head. Puzzled, I raised my hand and bit and slowly broke off a branchlet from the enormous thorn, and the great trunk of it cried, why do you break me? And after blood had darkened all the how of the wound, it cried again, why do you tear me? Is there no pity left in any soul? Men we were, and now we are changed to sticks. We might, your hand have been more merciful, were no more than souls of lice and ticks. As the green branch with one end all aflame will hiss and sputter sap out of the other, as the air escapes, to from the trunk there came words and blood together, gout by gout. Startled, I dropped the branch, and I was holding, and stood transfixed by fear, half turned about to my master, who replied, O wounded soul, could have been believed before what he had seen in my verses only, you would have been whole. For his hand would never have been raised against you, but knowing that the truth could never be believed till it was seen, I urged him to do what grieves me now, and I beg to know your name, that make you some amends in the sweet world with which returns he may refresh your flame. And the trunk, so sweet these words to me that I cannot be still, and may I not annoy you if it seems somewhat lengthy in reply. I am he who held both keys to Frederick's heart, locking, unlocking, with no deft a touch, that scarce other soul had any part in my secret thoughts. Though every strife I was so faithful to my glorious office, that for I gave up both sleep and life. That harlot envy, who on Caesar's face keeps fixed forever her adulterous stare, the common plague and vice of course and place, inflamed all mind against me. These inflames so inflamed him, that all my happy honors were changed to mourning, then unjustly blamed, my soul in scorn, and thinking to be free of scorn in death, made at last, through unjust to myself. By the new roots of this tree, I swear to you that never in word or spirit did I break faith to my Lord and Emperor, who was so worthy of honor in his merit. If either of you return to the world, speak for me, to vindicate me in the memory of men, one who lies prostrate in the blouse of envy. The poet stood, then turned, since he is silent, and said to me, Do not waste this hour. If you wish, ask his life or torment. I replied, questioning him for my part, on whatever you think I would do well to hear. I could not, much compassion chokes my heart. The poet began again, that this man may with all his heart do for you what your words entreat him to. In prisoned spirit, I pray. Tell us how the soul the bound and bent into its knots, and whether or ever frees itself from such imprisonment. At that the trunk blew powerfully, and the winds became a voice, and spoke these words. Briefly is the answer given, when, out of the flesh, from which it has tore itself, the violent spirit comes no punishment. Minos assigns to the seventh shelf. It falls in the wood, and landing there, whatever fortune thinks, it strikes root, and there is sprouts, lusty at any tear. Shoots up sapling, and becomes a tree. The harpies, feeding on the leaves, then give it pain and pain's outlet simultaneously. Like the rest, we shall go for our husk on Judgment Day, but not that we may wear them, for it is not just that a man be given what he throws away. Here shall we drag them in the mournful glade. Our bodies will dangle to our ends of time, each of the thorns of its tormented shade. We waited by the trunk, but it said no more, and waiting we were startled by the noise, and grew through all the wood, just as a roar, and trembled as one feels when boar in chase approaches his stand, the beams and branches crashing and clashing in the heat of the fierce race. And there on the left, running so violently, there broke off every twig in the dark wood. Two torn and naked wraiths went plunging by me. The leader cried, Come now, O death, come now. And the other, seeing she was outrun, cried, Your legs were not so ready, Lano, in the joust of the Tupo. And suddenly, in his rush, perhaps because his breath was failing him, he laid himself inside a thorny bush, and cowered among the leaves. Then on the back the wood leapt with black bitches, swift as greyhounds, escaped from their leash, and all the pack sprang on him with their fangs. They opposed him, and tore him savagely, and they withdrew, carrying his body with them, limb by limb. Then, taking me by the hand across the wood, my master led me towards the bush, lamentating all the fractured blue out words in blood. "O Giacomo de Saint Andrea," it said, "what have you to gain in making me your screen? What part am I in the foul life you led?" And when my master had drawn up to it, he said, "Who are you, who through all your wounds blow out your blood with your lament and spirit?" And he said to us, "You have come to see me. How the outrageous mangling of the hounds has torn my boughs and stripped my leaves from me. Oh, heap them around my ruin. I was born in the city that tore down Mars and raised the Baptists. On the account of the God of war was sworn. Her sorrow shall not end. And were it not that something of the image still survives on the bridge across the Archon, some have thought those citizens who were in love and pain afterwards rebuilt it from the ashes, left by Attila, would have worked in vain. I am one who has no tale to tell. I made myself a gibbet of my own lintel."